If you're curious about moving to Winston-Salem, but you're not sure if it's the right place for you, then this is the right video for you. I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know, the good and the bad, the pros and the cons of living in Winston-Salem. I've lived in Winston-Salem for 16 years now, which means I've seen some of the best parts of living here, but that doesn't mean the city is perfect. Okay, so I've got 5 pros and 5 cons to walk through. Some of these might just surprise you. Let's jump right into it. For pro number 1, the weather. We get all 4 seasons, which for a lot of folks is exactly what they want. Now, if you don't want winter, maybe we're not for you, because it does get cold here. You're gonna have to get about 6 to 8 weeks from mid-December through usually mid-February, Valentine's Day or so, of winter weather. But here's what's different. When I say winter, I don't mean you're shoveling every other day. We get very little snow here, much to the chagrin of my 13-year-old. On average, we're talking about 6 inches of snow tops a year. In fact, we haven't had that now in several years. When it does snow, it's beautiful for like a day or two, and then it's gone. Now the city will completely shut down for a day or that day or two. Everything closes. But because of how the weather works here, the snow melts very quickly and life gets right back to normal. Then we get into the summer. Summer, I'm gonna be honest with you, it does get hot and humid. And there's about 2 to 3 weeks here. I like to call them dragon's breath, typically in July, where the highs are in the 90s and humidity makes it feel even warmer. But that's not really unbearable, and it doesn't last that long, I promise. After summer, we move into fall. And this is where Winston-Salem shines. Most states get like a week or 2, tops 3 of fall, like real fall. We get a solid 2+ months from basically mid-September all the way through mid-November, and you've got these crisp mornings, warm afternoons, and then these perfect evenings. We get about 216 sunny days a year. Like North Carolina blue skies is a thing, which beats the national average by a good bit. We get around 45 inches of rain a year, which is a little misleading because it doesn't rain that often, but when it does, it rains. At the end of the day, weather here is easy to handle. You get a variety, you get all the seasons, and you're not stuck dealing really with any harsh extremes. Here's where it gets interesting. All that beautiful weather and those gorgeous trees I just mentioned, they come with a trade-off. Con number 1, the pollen season. The pollen here is no joke. Winston-Salem gets hit with a serious pollen season during spring. Typically, it lasts around 3 weeks from late March through mid-April. If you've never had allergies, and I hadn't either, there's a decent chance you might get them here. Oak pollen is the big one in April. It creates the highest pollen levels of the year. Cedar, maple, pine, and birch pollen also add to it. During peak times, your car will be coated in yellow pollen. Here's the positive spin though. The reason we have so much pollen is because Winston-Salem has these big, beautiful, mature trees everywhere. Beautiful oaks and maples that create this lush green landscape. You still get the natural environment. It's not stripped down. That's part of what makes it so beautiful here. Here's a local tip. Some folks say that eating local honey helps build up a tolerance to the local pollen. Heard this from multiple people, and I've even tried it myself. I'll be honest, I don't know if it helped, but maybe it'll work for you. It's worth a shot. And at the very least, you're supporting local beekeepers. All right. Let's get back into the positives. Pro number 2, the lack of traffic here. So if you're coming from a major city, you're used to sitting in traffic for an hour or 2 a day, Winston-Salem is gonna feel like a breath of fresh air. The average drive to work here is about 15 minutes. Winston-Salem ranks 491st in the world for traffic congestion. I'm not sure how they come up with those rankings because it feels better than that. Our average congestion level is 14%. Drivers spend about 15 hours of rush hour traffic a year, which is way less than what you'd expect in bigger cities. Now, I'm not saying we never have traffic. There are moments, especially usually around 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock, where you have a 5 to 10 minute window of rush hour, but things slow down for like literally that short window. You're never gonna have that 3 to 7 o'clock gridlock situations where you're stuck on the highway. The city's putting a lot of money into roads to keep things moving smoothly. The Winston-Salem Northern Beltway is a big freeway under construction right now. Some sections are already completed. The eastern section was already done. The western section is in another show causing a lot of buzz, but it's coming. Once the beltways are fully done, it's gonna make things even easier. Now, while the traffic is light and getting around is easy, that brings us to the con number 2. Winston-Salem has a metro population of over 700,000 residents, when you include all the suburbs and surrounding areas. But the city keeps a distinctly small town vibe. For the size, it lives a lot smaller than you'd expect. What I mean by this is you're gonna recognize people. If you go out to the grocery store, to a restaurant, or a local event, there's a good chance you're gonna run into someone you know. You might even bump into the mayor in the supermarket. I'm not kidding. It's that kind of city. For some people, this is a huge positive. It creates a sense of community and connection. You feel like you're a part of something. And this city does have a lot of pride. You're not just a face in the crowd. People know you. You build relationships. But for others, especially if you're coming from a big city where you value anonymity, you can feel limited. If you're someone who likes to blend into a crowd and not be recognized everywhere you go, Winston-Salem might feel a little too small for you. The compact feel extends to the restaurant and entertainment scene. We have a growing and celebrated food scene. There are top-tier local spots, but it doesn't match the extensive options that you're gonna get in larger metros. Now, the city's affordability, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, helps make up for that. If you're expecting the culinary diversity of a place like New York City, yeah, you might be disappointed. But we have a lot of good restaurants. I mean, for a city our size, it's got a lot going for it. But it does feel a little smaller. But before we get too deep into the challenges, let me tell you about pro number 3. What Winston-Salem lacks in a big city energy, it more than makes up for in location. We're right in the middle of North Carolina, and that gives us easy access to mountains, beaches, and major cities. So, the Blue Ridge Mountains are easy to get to from here. Pilot Mountain State Park is about 24 miles away, about 30-minute drive. It's also, I think, 40 minutes, to most major mountains. The hiking is beautiful. The hiking scene you will not regret. The Blue Ridge Parkway is about an hour away, and this is one of our more scenic drives in the entire country. And it's right in our backyard. If you're more of a beach person, we got that covered too. South Carolina coast, spots like Myrtle Beach, also the North Carolina beaches, Wrightsville Beach, Carolina Beach. It's about a 3 to 4 hour drive. Definitely doable for a long weekend. We're also right between North Carolina's 2 largest cities. Charlotte is about an hour and 15 minutes away. Raleigh is about 90 minutes, tops 2 hours. That puts you close enough for easy day trips without dealing with the daily congestion and higher cost living. Piedmont Triad International Airport is less than 30 minutes from downtown Winston. The airport has major carriers, including American, Delta, Frontier, and United. You've got direct flights into major hubs. It's one of the cheapest flights, I think, in the world to New York City. Just saying. Now, while Winston-Salem is well connected to other places, the city itself is dealing with some growing pain. And that brings me to con number 3. There's some tension between people who are excited about the growth and people who prefer to keep the city's traditional character. Some longtime residents have concerns about downtown development, new restaurants, and more businesses opening up. A new restaurant will open and people will say, I wish I could go there, but there's nowhere to park. It's sort of this pushback against change. Here's some context. The hesitancy toward growth is part of a historical pattern. Winston-Salem's reluctance to embrace rapid expansion in past decades has helped Charlotte become North Carolina's dominant business center. I joke with people all the time who are new to this area. I say, Charlotte wouldn't exist if Winston hadn't turned everything down first. Charlotte took advantage of Winston-Salem's desire not to grow. I will say this, it's changing. Over the last generation or so, the attitude has shifted. The city's embracing growth more than it used to, but it will trickle down. You'll hear complaints. You'll see resistance to things like new parking policies, new construction, and changing neighborhood character. And that leads me perfectly into pro number 4, because despite some of the resistance, Winston-Salem is growing fast. And that's a huge pro if you're looking for job opportunities and stable economy. Let me give you some real numbers. As the second quarter of 2025, there were 89 active development projects in the pipeline. This pipeline represents potential of 11 billion investments and 18,000 new jobs. That's not just talk, that's real, solid growth. The job market here is doing well. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, as of August 2025, total employment in the Winston-Salem metro area grew by 2.2% over the previous year. This growth rate is about 1.5 times faster than the regional average. The unemployment rate was at a low of, I think, 4.1% in August of 2025. And when you combine that to job growth with the cost of living we'll break down soon, you start to see why people move here. In fact, we're getting a ton of overflow because of how packed Raleigh and Charlotte have become. People and companies are looking for alternatives, and they're picking us. Winston-Salem's economy is backed by a diverse mix of major employers. We have healthcare giants like Atrium Health, Wake Forest, Novant Health. We have banks like Truist and Wells Fargo. And we're home to corporate headquarters of major companies like Hanesbrands, Reynolds American. One thing I want to mention is the Innovation Quarter. This is a game-changing development in downtown Winston-Salem. It now has over 1.9 million square feet of office, lab, and educational space on more than 330 acres. The district houses more than 170 companies, 5 schools, and over 3,700 workers and 1,800 students. What's happening here in Winston-Salem is becoming a place where businesses start and grow. We're creating a space for innovation and new business. The city's benefiting from people and companies looking for alternatives in the higher costs and congestion of the Charlotte and Raleighs. Winston-Salem provides some middle ground. We're near an Amazon delivery center and have a fulfillment center in nearby Kernersville, so you can get your Amazon deliveries super fast. But with all that growth and downtown development, there's been one change that's becoming a hot topic. Con number 4, the parking situation downtown specifically. If you're coming from a major city, you're probably gonna think that this is like not a thing, not a big deal. But for locals who've lived here for a long time, it's becoming a point of frustration. Here's the reality. We have amazing parking compared to most cities. If you moved here from a big city, you would not consider parking here an issue at all. But people here locally complain about it. In May of 2025, the city put in a brand new downtown parking system. They replaced the old quarter-based meters with a mobile app-based platform called Pay by Phone. I think a lot of cities have done this, but here's the issue. The hourly rate for a street parking jumped 6 times. So it went from basically a quarter to $1.50. That's a big jump. Paid parking is a new thing, and it's becoming a new complaint. This used to be something that people who work downtown would mention, but as the city grows, it's just a new complaint. There's not enough parking, so now it's paid. Not everyone's happy with these changes. People who remember when downtown parking was pretty consistently free and very, very easy or super cheap, they see this as a move that makes visiting downtown more expensive and complicated. Here's the reality. There will still be plenty of options for unpaid or lower cost parking if you know where to look. Many of the parking garages downtown don't charge after 5 or on Sundays. The city owns parking decks, keep I think a $1 per hour rate or a $9 max, which is still, I think, for urban living, very reasonable. You're always gonna find parking and you'll find it pretty quickly. But to be fair, you might have to pay now. And people who grew up here, well, that was never a thing. If you're coming from a place like New York or Chicago or paying 20, 30, 50 bucks to park for a couple of hours, $1.50 per hour is gonna seem like nothing. We're not talking a lot of money, so basically bring a couple of bucks. Now, let's talk about pro number 5. And this is a big one that more than makes up for a $1.50 parking fee. how affordable it is. This city is budget friendly, and that's a huge deal. But beyond just being affordable, there's something else that makes this place special. It's the ease of living. Life here just feels more manageable financially, professionally, and day to day. Let's talk about real estate first, okay? The median sales price for a home is less than $275,000. That's 59% lower than the national average. The market here is stable. We see year-over-year increases around 2%. Homes get an average of 2 offers and sell in less than 50 days. This is a more relaxed environment. And then what you see in this is a much more relaxed environment than what you see in many other cities, where bidding wars are still super common. The city has a wide range of housing options at different price points. This range means you can find a home that fits your budget. Beyond housing, the overall cost of living in Winston-Salem is 9% lower than the national average. Grocery prices are lower here. I mean, if you're coming from a Charlotte or a Raleigh, it's 33% less expensive. That's huge savings when you're feeding your family. Talking about property taxes, the combined property tax for Winston-Salem residents is about 1.1%. This rate is significantly lower than property taxes in northern states, where you're probably paying 3.5%. Homeowners insurance is around $2,400 a year, and that is also pretty low. And that's in large part because we don't get a lot of major storms. The mountains did have that hurricane. Besides that one, we haven't had one in decades. I mean, we're inland, so I think we had a tornado in the 90s, but ultimately we really just get thunderstorms, and that's about it. At the end of the day, living in Winston-Salem is budget friendly. You can afford a nice home, enjoy a great quality of life, and still have money left over. The ease of living is one of the things I think that people love most about this place. With that slower pace of living I just mentioned, brings me to our last con. Con number 5. Winston-Salem is not a late night city. The city closes down pretty regularly between 9 and 10 p.m., even on weekends. If you show up at 8 p.m., you're considered part of the late crowd. Everything after 8, it's the late crowd, and restaurants are shutting down between 9 and 9:30, 10. As somebody who moved here from a big city, it was a big adjustment. For people in their early 20s who are used to a vibrant nightlife scene, well, yeah, it can be a bit of an adjustment, bit of a struggle. This is a family-friendly city. There are places like Earl's. I think it stays open until 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Brothers Pizzeria is open till 2:30 a.m. Like I said, a lot of local bars, breweries, and we even have a distillery. They stay open till 2:30, 3 a.m. on the weekends, all downtown. But these are the exceptions and not the norm. The early closing culture reflects Winston-Salem's family-friendly setup. This is a city where people prioritize good work-life balance, and that often means getting home at a reasonable hour. Now, there's some positives to this. If you live downtown or near downtown, you're not gonna have to deal with the loud noises at night. But here's the good news. Grocery stores stay open late, so you don't have to worry about not being able to get essentials at night. But when it comes to entertaining and dining, the city just doesn't have that same late night energy you'd find in larger metropolitan areas. And if you're not someone who needs to be out late every night, this isn't gonna be a deal breaker for you. So that's the full rundown of the pros and cons of living in Winston-Salem. At the end of the day, no city's perfect. Winston-Salem has its challenges, but the pros definitely outweigh the cons for a lot of people. And if you're looking for an affordable, growing, manageable city with access to nature and great job opportunities, this place has a lot going for it. If you're thinking about moving to Winston-Salem or you want to know more about the city, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have and just chat with you about what life is like here. My contact info is in the description below, so feel free to reach out. And if you enjoyed this video, I promise there'll be more on my channel just like this one, talking about life in Winston-Salem. So please make sure to subscribe to not miss my future videos. Thank you. See you on the next one.